with our guest. Thank you for coming in. We are with Aron of Castle Black. Now, are we doing the full name? Or we do the whole? Sure. Okay. I got to get your mic on. Got to get you going there.
Absolutely.
All right. Aron, how long are you in town for? I'm just trying to answer that question because I wasn't sure you'd be here right now.
I'm in and out all the time. I'm actually on my way to the Dominican Republic, dealing with some things that we have going on there as a project, and back into Jamaica as of the end of December. So I'm here for another week or so.
Okay, so let's tell everyone exactly who you are and what you do, because on this show we talk about LPs a lot, and obviously that's part of the scenario of Canada's movement into cannabis. And what I'd like to know is a few basic things about your company. Obviously, it was in existence prior to legalization. And so that's a murky history, and so I might ask a question that you would rather I don't. And if that happens, just tell me I can't go there. Just tell me I can't go there. So, and I'm sorry if I don't. But we're just trying to learn things. So let's find out a bit about your history prior to all of this. I mean, so what I've found with the guests on the show, regardless of their capacity, is at some point they had a life that was going along, and something took place, occurred, whatever, that made them try it, and things changed. Because a lot of people try and say, oh, that's not for me. But now you have a company based on this. But at one point, you didn't have any of this. So what was your turn on that? Because this is interesting for people to understand. Because a lot of folks are sitting there going, I can't imagine the circumstances that would involve me with cannabis. I don't touch any of that stuff. But everyone has a story where that did happen. So what's yours?
Absolutely. My background is a real estate background, and I owned a brokerage. And back in 2011, one of my best friends passed away from cancer that he could have been saved from. And instead, our hospital system, I'll say, decided to keep him up in Barrie, and kept him there, didn't do anything about it. And from September till November, he laid in a hospital bed. And while this tumor grew on his spine, they rushed him over to a hospital in Buffalo where they said it was too much, too far gone, brought him back and said there was nothing that they could do with him.
What kind of cancer was it?
It was just I'm not sure exactly what type, but it was a tumor that was grown into, and it actually extended the tentacles and nerve endings that extended into his spinal column. Oh, God. So when they first found it in August, it was about the size of a loonie, and by October, his whole lower bottom half of him had started to shut down, and it had grown to the size of a softball. So the hospital in Buffalo said, if you guys had brought him here in August, we could have cut it out. He would have been perfectly fine, continued on his way. But Ontario's hospital system being as slow as it was, they didn't have the time to do anything. And so they brought him back and basically gave him a death sentence.
Ontario being a province of Canada that borders New York State,
exactly.
Where Buffalo is. So
correct.
Just for our foreign listeners.
So while he was in the hospital, if people brought him in weed, brownies, cookies, edibles, he was fine. He could talk to you. He knew who you were, all that sort of stuff. Everything was great. When he was on the cancer pills and stuff like that the actual hospital was giving to him, he didn't have any of that. He didn't want to eat. He was in constant pain, even though he was on the craziest of pain medication, morphine, etc.
Was it chemotherapy that he was on, or what was it?
They didn't even want to do that with him. So
what were the pills he was taking?
Pain pills, different types of different things that they were trying out and experimenting on him with, basically. Right. So he was doing some certain chemo pills and stuff, but they stopped all that. And then again, the weed was the only thing that kept him eating and healthy and got him out of the hospital for a weekend to see his friends and stuff before he passed away. So that's what turned my belief in the whole industry around, and kind of got me switch gears and into fighting for what's right for the people rather than sitting around listening to the government tell you what's right for you.
So that was around 2011-12 for you?
Correct.
So you're starting to go, maybe I'm going to have a company that's...
Actually, no. I started renting out units to a couple different people that were sick and needed the help. And unfortunately, the Barrie City Police thought that it was in their best interest to arrest me, being the landlord, and saying that it was a conspiracy. And
what?
Oh, yeah.
A conspiracy in Barrie?
Yeah.
To
collusion to manufacture and grow marijuana. So
to help people out.
That's right.
Yeah, that's always a problem when
Yeah.
you're helping people out.
Exactly.
You should
So
really not do that anymore.
no. Mind your own business and don't leave your house, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So I don't follow those rules, and I went and I helped them out anyway, and that happened. And so now I'm down in Jamaica doing it and helping
Wow.
out people and making products that are actually there to benefit sick people. So
Well,
we don't
there's-
do recreational products. We do strictly
Medicine.
things to help.
Well, this is interesting. What's your take then? And so we should say who you are exactly. So this is Aron Cadeau, and it's pronounced Cadeau, right?
Cadeau, correct.
Like present.
Exactly.
So
Gift.
that's French gift. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Aaron's got a gift. He's got this place. So take me through. What's interesting to me is that the light bulb goes on that you want to do this back in 2011, 12, and we're a million years away from any kind of legal environment where that would happen. Like, I'm not happy with what's just happened in October, but back in 2012, 2011, Stephen Harper, conservative prime minister, what were you thinking? Like, I'm going to have a cannabis company? Did you
no.
really think that was going to...
At the time, it was just renting out space to people that had their MMARs. They're licensed to grow for their own personal health.
Right.
And those were the people that I wanted to help. And if we
That's
could have
it.
set up a co-op at the time, which is what I wanted to do, a lot of our friends are involved with cancer patients and AIDS patients and different people like that. So
Right.
if we could put together a culmination of people that would grow and help these people and provide for them, because you were allowed to have 4 patients per grower.
Right.
And then that's what our goal was, to help people have access to their medicine. And in that going along, they thought that it was this big, huge operation when it wasn't. It was just something simple to help people.
Yeah.
And that's evolved. So I lost my real estate brokerage, and from there I've taken a different turn, and now I'm actually doing it on a large scale in a different
Yeah.
country.
And how did you come across Jamaica? Like, so you said to yourself, I'm going to need to get cannabis. I don't think I can get it in Canada. Where else should I go? Like, what was the thought?
No, I was approached by a couple different Jamaican ministers and stuff like that after everything has been wrapped up with my case. So I went down to Jamaica, had a couple of meetings with them, and got offered to help out with the College of Agriculture, and then on to the University of West Indies to do research and development of products. And from there, we
Wow.
purchased our own farm and started building that, and
Amazing.
it's taken off from there.
Yeah. So when you were back in the days of, so you're doing this Castle Black, helping you operation, small scale. Cannabis is illegal, right? So there's that whole landscape that we were living in years ago. And then you start to hear, like Aron starts to hear, oh, they're talking about changing things. Oh, this Trudeau guy says he might legalize it. Oh, so the wheels are turning at that point, and you're thinking, how might this change? Or were you just still...
I'm always been a forward-thinking person.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen? What do we do next? How do we help it get to that next point?
Right.
And unfortunately, with a lot of things that the government's doing, even the introduction of OCS and all these different stores, they can't even supply what they need right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they've taken it, and I don't even know how to describe it. They've actually dumbed it down to a point that they can't do anything, and it's basically a stock game now, which really isn't benefiting the people that really need it.
Yeah. What I don't like is that it used to be illegal, and it was completely simple to obtain any. And now it was illegal and you could get it, and now it's legal and you can't find it anywhere.
That's right.
Like, it's just like you say, they've bureaucratized it. You can't even access this stuff, and it's all so much of it. Maybe not all of it, but so much of it is about stock points and gains and that kind of thing. And I've been reading a lot of things where some people who take medical cannabis are having also supply issues, along
Absolutely.
with this recreational delay that we're having in Canada here.
That's right.
So you must be thrilled, though, to be on that side of the fence. Like, when you saw all that stuff going on, I mean, you're such a niche player. It's so interesting because you're kind of an LP, aren't you? I mean, in the
We
you
are.
are technically, but the way they operate and the way they have their systems, you're not really like that at all.
No, it's monitored differently. It's actually stricter in some ways, but getting it out to the people is much easier. So all they need is a doctor's note. They don't need all this other stuff, right? So if you've got someone that has seizures, we can get them oils and different things to help them. And we've got all the different abilities now where we don't in Canada to bring it right directly to the hospitals and to the different retirement homes there for people that need to sleep better and different things like that. So our oils are all done completely organically. We don't use isopropyl or anything like that. We use different ingredients to break it down and to extract it. So ours is as pure as the driven
Pure as
snow
it
up
gets.
here.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's
it's
really great. Yeah, because I used it when I made it myself. I was using isopropyl, but you need something. I mean, it was a kitchen and a hot plate. At that
absolutely.
Point, so you have to get it done.
That's what in Canada again. Like we should have access to being able to make our own butters and oils and all that sort of stuff, and there should be ways to learn how to do that properly. So that's something that the government needs to work towards as well, instead of just opening a store and having no one there to really back it up and teach people how to do it. And
I don't think they're really trying to do that, though.
There's no education.
There's no education other than, I said this before you got here, they focus almost exclusively on what's called harm reduction.
Yeah.
And I say you can't really have harm reduction. If you have harm reduction, you've studied the topic enough to have also gleaned the positives.
Absolutely.
And so let's work with those, and they don't want to go there. And why do you think that is?
Again, it's
not that they're invisible to be seen, the positives.
Oh, absolutely not.
So
they want to control it. They want to control the distribution of it. They want to control the taxation of it, and they want to control who has access to it. So, and they don't want to get a new following that wasn't already there, basically.
Right. You just want to keep it where it is.
Exactly. Keep the status quo. Don't blow it up and say, listen, this is going to help you. We've got topical creams that you put on one application, 6 months down the road, you're still not feeling any pain in that area. So they don't want people to know that. They want Pfizer and Apotex and all those guys there to do their thing and make their money and whatever else. So it's a fine line that they're walking, because you can't destroy one industry by introducing another. Yeah. And at the same time, it should never have been taken away in the first place.
It should never have been. That's the biggest problem, right?
That's right.
That is so. And you know what's interesting to me is when I think about that particular point is, had it never been illegalized, let's just say we were rolling on through 1937 and this industry wouldn't even be here as the way it is. Like, all of this has come forward due to repression.
That's right.
The vape as an instrument only came around because smoking was illegal.
That's right, exactly.
I mean? Like, that's the only way that thing would have. If it was always legal, probably no one has even invented that stuff.
That's right.
Because you don't need to sneak it. You don't need to, stand behind the portables at high school and do all that stuff. So much of the negative culture, the damage, the problems that can have. Like, I do agree there are problems with cannabis, but I also agree there are problems with chainsaws and glass windows that are not used properly. So I get it that there's a problem there, but you have to learn how to work this stuff like anything else. Blows my mind. They're freaking out. It's like, oh my God, we can't have people driving cars because they're going to crash into walls and they'll go through the windshield and sometimes they blow up and if the tires blow out, they'll crash on the highway and like, you're just saying all the bad stuff about driving.
Correct.
That's all you're saying. So you didn't catch the part about going somewhere. You didn't catch the part about, being able to plan trips and travel. You didn't. No, we're just going to talk about the bad stuff. Like, to me, as soon as Joe Average realizes that fact, that's when we're going to have, like, maybe even a yellow vest size revolt against the people that are telling us, what's going on in Paris right now.
Correct.
I really think that the more you repress and repress and repress a person, the more you create that bad shit. Like, if I don't let you out of this room, you're like a nice guy sitting here and everything. We're having a good time. But I'm pretty sure you're going to get pretty snarly once I start cutting into hour 2, hour 3 of the next thing you're trying to do, right?
Yeah, maybe by 3.
And by the time you repress, so this is the lesson these guys laying down. They don't seem to either accept this fact, or they get it and they don't care and they're just pushing through anyway. Like, it's really not. It's really getting to the point now where I've realized that it is so much to do with the cannabis itself that helps you see the clarity of the bullshit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's actually one of the reasons they don't want us to use it. I'm sure of it.
100%. When they first took it away, it wasn't. It had so many benefits to the oil industry and paper and things that would have taken away from those industries, right? So it wasn't just all about, oh my God, it makes people go psychotic and all this sort of stuff. It was the whole taxation limitation that they wanted to control. Everything that the government does is about control. Yeah. If they can't control you and they can't direct you in a direction that they want you to go, they take it away from you. So it's like Honda used to make 3-wheelers. People got hurt on them occasionally. They took them away. They stop anything that they don't see that they can control it somehow. And especially in the taxation department, like CRA has to figure out how they're going to get their dollar off it before they can have it done, which with the way they actually rolled it out has been detrimental as well, because the gray market has now exploded again. So
But specify on that. What do you mean exactly? The gray market and taxing CRA. CRA is like the IRS of Canada, the tax people.
That's right. So opening day, all these people went in and they went online and they did their orders. 3 days later, their credit card gets refunded back to them saying that they can't supply it. So where do those people take their money and go? Back to the dealer that they stopped going to a week ago because they thought it was legal. So all the dealers that you now know about, they're all out of stock as well, because they weren't expecting to have 500 customers the next day after legalization to come back to them and say, oh, I can't get it through the OCS store, so now I got to come back to you. So it's created a boom in certain ways, and now they've got to catch back up and redevelop their system, I think, because they haven't licensed enough LPs to properly supply the Canadian market, yet all these LPs that they have licensed are taking their product and trying to sell it off to Mexico, Greece, Germany, all these different places without actually supplying their own home country where they've been licensed to supply the people that need it.
Right. This is why I don't like certain aspects of politics, and one of them is when people, the folks being ruled, won't or can't or seemingly unable to call these people to task on that hand. Because while we're sitting here having a conversation, if you tell me something is, I need to know that that's the case.
Oh.
Like, I don't want you telling me it's 10:30 at night when I ask you what time it is right now, because that's not going to help me out.
Oh.
So if you're lying, so it gets to be a problem. And so these people know that they're lying. And
right.
And so when you stand up and say, hey, I know this stuff, but they just get away with it. Like, they just constantly get away with these.
Because Canadians have been in such a passive state for the last X amount of years that they don't stand up for themselves. And they need to. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a Canadian, you're a Canadian,
Yeah.
and we need to have a voice that goes out and says, listen, we aren't being treated fairly here. We need access to this. We need to be able to do something about it. And there's no real forum for it. Like, our politicians don't actually listen to what we say.
No.
They do what is on their agenda, and that's it.
And the trouble is the politician goes in, and if he has that cause, but then he becomes part of the problem later on anyway.
Correct.
When he starts to fight. But here's the thing that I really want to hold them to task on, and that's simple. It's really simple. I've seen the way Trudeau doesn't answer questions. It's amazing. But here's the question. The question is, it's not a question, it's a statement. You said you were going to be ready. Now, I don't need to hear, oh, no, we thought this was going to... Well, when the growing thing happened and when we ran out... No, fuck all that. You said you're going to be ready.
And that's why it took so long for them to come to...
That's the end of it.
That's
like,
right.
Let's not, we'll go to plan B. They were even talking about plan B when they weren't getting the cannabis. I was like, remember how you don't have a plan B? Because you said you were ready. Like, you said, I want to say this 15 times in a row. You said you were ready. So clearly you're not ready. Clearly you're not, because no one has it unless they were ready, because that was the plan. Just to fuck everything up. Just to make it harder. Harder to access it. Harder to own it. Harder to pay for it. More of a hassle with the credit cards if you do. Look at this ball of shit here. This is
a little moldy.
This is a little nug. Look at this thing. This company, Redican, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, I'm just saying that's the name of a company. I can't even be sued for saying they put out bad quality product, because I'm not saying they put out bad quality product. I'm saying there's bad quality product out there. And that there's a company named Redican. Look at that. I mean, that is all fuzzy. You know what it is? You're rushing. You're rushing so quickly to get this to market because you're not ready. And you put it in a container. It's still a little bit damp. Didn't dry out properly. And it shows up damp like this.
That's right.
I mean, it shows up moldy like this. So it's dried out more than it should have, because you're supposed to dry this stuff out till it's dry. And that's the weight you're using. Not the weight that it's while it's drying, and now it's 3.5 grams, and now it's less than that. You idiots! Like, they have screwed up. I mean, I can't even count all the aspects where they have failed, right? And it all comes down to a series of lies. So I'm glad you're a guy who is an honest purveyor, but you're also a licensed producer. So now I really want to spend some time talking about some of your thoughts on what you've seen going on in other aspects of this industry. In other words, from your Castle Black Rook Castle position, take a few shots at not necessarily attacking anybody, but what do you see going on from your place where it was not legalized yet, but you were building your company and now it's legalized. So you know, it's an interesting landscape. No one's really been in that position before. It wasn't like it's illegal to build cars, but I'm doing it anyway, and now it's legal to build cars and now I'm building cars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you've been doing it the whole time. So what kind of issues do you see along the way that I haven't seen, that other people haven't seen? Like from your, you know, you're a grower, you're a company man, you're an international fellow. What do you see that's wrong with the Canadian thing? What can we do really to fix things?
Well, Health Canada, I think, and the government themselves, the way they've done it and the licensing process and everything, all the good growers out there have had an incident in their past so that they can't become a grower now.
Right.
All right. So you've taken out all the experienced guys that know how to grow in greenhouses, know how to grow in indoor settings, and know how to grow in outdoor settings, because it's been such a frowned upon thing. And you've had guys hiding in the dark and doing it out up in the woods up north and whatever.
Right.
You've eliminated all those people because they've all been caught at some point or another, and they can no longer do it now that it's legalized. These are all the guys that are true believers in it, true pioneers of it. Or not even pioneers, because I can't say pioneers because it's been done for hundreds of years. And anyone that calls themselves a pioneer is just blowing their own horn for no reason. All right. And that's another thing that drives me nuts. Oh, I'm a pioneer. Buddy, it's 2018, and this has been done for hundreds of years before us even arrived here. So you're not a pioneer. But it's people that have fought for it. All right. So there's a different term that they should be using. They shouldn't be using as a pioneer. It's a believer, an activist, and all that sort of stuff. So those people should be allowed to grow. All right. Not if they haven't had violent crimes or anything like that, no. But if they've just been caught for growing or whatever, they should be allowed to grow still.
In a system where they got caught in trouble that was based on before when it was illegal, which we're not doing now.
Exactly.
None of that makes sense.
That's right. So all these larger places like Aurora and Canopy and all that they need those guys. All right. The people that they have growing for them are not particularly the people that they should have growing for them, and that can't control large environments and all that sort of stuff, right? So they need a workforce that knows what they're doing to support the market that we have now.
Right.
And especially all the people that are coming out of the woodwork and putting up their hands and saying, oh, yes, me, I want that. And now the government's got a huge database of who all wants what, right? First off. So that's another thing that we've got to kind of worry about, because information in the government's hands is always quasi worrying, you know what I mean? Like another way for them to control us. But it's poor Floyd.
That's okay. He's okay. Don't worry.
So
he's sighing. It's all right.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing. It's if we had people that were in the game for a long time, they should still be allowed to be in the game now that it's been legalized.
Right.
They've been the ones that have been fighting for it all this time. So. And they're the ones that have the knowledge.
Yeah.
You're not taking a tomato grower and having them grow a plant that has nothing to do with what they're used to growing.
Sure.
So,
yeah, I used to shoe horses. I'm sure I can build a Tesla car. You know? So yeah, this is what they're saying now in Canada. They're saying, and this can be the case for any country that goes ahead with legalization over the next little bit, if they follow the similar kinds of models that Canada did. Industry experts are saying that this shortage will last for years. That's what they're saying. They're saying it'll last for years. Industry experts warn. Now, on the way to legalize, on the way to October 17th, we weren't hearing anything like, oh, there's a really good chance that the way government has done things, we won't have access to product for 27 months. Like, no one ever said that.
That's right.
But now they're saying it. I want these guys to be held to account. I don't want them to get up in the House of Commons and dance around. I want to say, you said it would be ready. It's not ready. Atone. Like, that's it. That's all. I figure it out. Like the same thing with Donald Rumsfeld. You know, like he said about the war, the massive weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. He said, I know exactly where they are. We're going to go get them. Then they go over there and go, oh, shoot, they're not here. I thought they were here. I thought they were. Now, you don't get to say, I thought they were. I thought they were, and I have, are two different completely. Anyway, it's the same shit, and I'm bringing up that example because it's old, but it's also the same example. It's exactly the same thing where they say these. Huh? You were talking about the government having access to more information as troubling. I have to say, we're going into, and we have more rules. Like just going to keep cranking out more and more rules to do anything. Huh? But what was I going to say there? That while this is going on, we have the guy that created this system is being lobbied by friends of his who are other businessmen. I'm talking about Bill Blair currently being lobbied by people to restrict the field of pot growers while we're in the middle of a shortage that they said we wouldn't have because they said they were ready. I mean, like,
Does that make any sense?
am I in this country? Like, is that really what's going on? This guy's actively, oh, you don't want more of that stuff because, and people are trying to get stuff. Like, I don't understand it, but I do. When you bring in the politics of cynicism, it's easy to understand, but people don't like thinking that.
No. And it's taking 2 years, a year to 2 years, to get your license through Health Canada for an LP, which, again, they've given licenses to these larger players. They've held them at a certain standard, and they've expected them to be able to supply. But meanwhile, they can't supply Canada, and they're trying to ship off stuff to other countries and other markets when we can't even keep our own stock, like shelves stocked. That makes absolutely zero sense. Well, they're still holding back other licensees that are in the process for like months and months and months, while certain players are getting well ahead of the game.
While they say they're ready.
That's right.
Right. It's amazing to me. It's very upsetting, and we have to call into account our own assessment of things. This is why I think people get in trouble when they say, this has been turned into a thing in the last couple of years rather, is this fake news issue, because it really is fake. Like I get it. Like, people are upset with Trump, but he has said that there are some fake news aspects, and that is true. And I don't care if you hate Trump. That makes it even worse. It's a problem that a guy that you really hate says anything that's true.
That's right.
Right? And
Who wants to
so
listen
it's
to him?
super upsetting. Right? So I get that part. But honestly, like, where are we in Canada? Like, okay, so look at this. I did a little research. So here we were coming down on Legalize, and we've not been able to maintain a weekly show since Legalize. Thanks for hanging in for those of you that have. But here we were coming down the pipe to Legalize. I'm going to share this with you because I know you'll get a kick out of this, given your status of what you're doing. So here we were coming down to Legalize, and it turns out there was a Pan-Canadian research conference on large-scale assessments. I'll say that again if you weren't listening or you're driving. I know it's a super boring title. It's a super boring title. But listen to this. Pan-Canadian Research Conference. Okay, so across country. Research conference on large-scale assessments. So if you're doing large-scale assessments, let's say that's your gig. Let's say you're a large-scale assessor. Like, you know how it is when you're a kid, you want to be a policeman or you're a fireman or a doctor or a large-scale assessor. Anyway, so when you become a large-scale assessor, there's actually conventions where large-scale assessors will go. And there was one here held by the government of Canada. The government of Canada! Large-scale assessors, come on in here. Now, we don't care about democracy. We don't care about guys growing fantastic product. We're saying, let's not do that. And let's find a way to make money in this economy while we push aside the thing that'll make money in the economy. Like, it makes no sense. But here's what this thing says. And this all ties in. Trust me. This sounds nuts, but it all ties into what we're talking about here. So, across country, research conference on large-scale assessments, October 3rd and 4th. That was exciting. We were just getting close to Legalize. This was just a couple of weeks before Legalize. So you can imagine, they must have been talking about Legalize. Large-scale assessments. How's it going to go when we unroll this plan, right? When you change a law, when you alter a fucking paradigm. So what's on the agenda at the large-scale assessment convention? Well, the first thing was registration and continental breakfast.
Always important.
Oh, gotta have that.
Go to a conference on a full stomach.
Then from 9 to 10:30, we had welcomes with the folks. From Catherine O'Grady was there. She's the coordinator of learning assessment programs for Canada. That's important. Council of Ministers of Education. You would think education is important. We've just heard Justin Trudeau talking about education and how important it is for cannabis. So they must be talking about cannabis at this fucking meeting, right? Anyway, let's keep going. Keynote speakers. Oh, Dr. Louis Volante. He's going to be talking about achievement trends and educational policy development. Oh, boy. And what? There must be something. Oh, 11 o'clock. What's going on there? Opportunity to Learn is coming on. That's theme 1. Opportunity to Learn. That's with Anna Katen-Chmielewski. She's talking about the widening socioeconomic achievement gap in Canada and worldwide. Because this was pressing shit right before we legalized cannabis. Then we're having lunch. And then after lunch, Alfred and Janice are going to get up here and talk about performance in Alberta, linking math results to provincial curriculum coverage. Okay, cool. And then later on, what the data tells us about schools and classrooms And then from 5 to 7, it's the evening reception. That's when they drink booze. Anyway, this is a thing that Canada just did like a couple of weeks before legalized. They had a bunch of people sit around and talk about what it's like to do math in school. I wonder how that turned out. So this is what the research is about. This is why you can go to a Canadian government guy and say, how come if I'm taking a gram of oil and this guy only has 2 nanograms, he's high and I'm not? How come all these facts that you don't have information for? So Aron, Cadeau, the gift of Aron with this company, Castle Black. What are you going to do to help us out? You have a fantastic, we've already heard it in the earlier part of this conversation. This whole company was born from a man trying to help his sick friend in the first place. Not to bum you out, but that's where you brought this up in the first place. And I've been finding out over and over again, listen to these shows, so many people in companies such as your own or involved with cannabis come to it because of a thing about their heart. It's a need for their positive side, the benefits enhancement of being a loving human being, to bring a medicine, this green shit that you know can help out, to people that are not well and injured and sick people. And we all know people like this. I'm one. I've got them in my life. It's all over the place. And this is coming because you found out a way to ameliorate some of that. And that's why your company's starting to take off.
That's right.
Other people, they form a company to be able to make money right away, and and that takes off too. But it's just there's a different ethos, and I've seen this with so many different people now. We don't even need to do any more shows. I've already seen enough people coming from a bad place where they were hurt or a loved one was injured or something or sickness or whatever, and they're turning this devil's lettuce. Give me a break. They're turning this stuff into a life, an economic boon, something they want to do anyway. So that's just democracy on its face, right? That's just democracy. You just want to do it. So I shouldn't be telling you can't do this thing you want to do, right? And any more, you're going to watch a movie now? No, you're not. I don't want you to watch that. Like, it's democracy, it's business, it's health, it's science. I'm done listening to the negatives of it. And now we have this purveyor from a fantastic company in Jamaica. So you've got some neighbors down there, don't you?
We do.
Who else is down there doing cannabis-type things in Jamaica that you could talk about? And again, if I say something I'm not supposed to, you just tell me. I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
No, there's a couple of large guys. Like Aurora has been down there. Cannabis definitely working on doing something there. Afria... I don't know if you read the articles about Afria and
we can talk about it. We can talk about it. Mm-hmm. So they're all doing things, and I also understand that a former premier of this province, Ernie Eves.
Yes,
Ernie Eves was the premier under of the Conservatives under Mark Harris. He was
correct.
I think he was the deputy prime minister or minister, and then Harris was gone. He stepped in. Prior to that, he was a financial officer. He was the financial guy. So I'm sure he knows about it. So what's he doing in
I haven't heard
Jamaica?
Hide nor hair.
Really?
Correct.
Secrets.
Down there, we have kind of done our thing very quietly, and we just go in, put our head down. We don't mix in with other people's what they're doing, and it again, we're focused on what we do best.
All right. Well, that's good. Well, we've just had some person drop into the studio. Let me just check and see who it is. Oh, it's Paul Hartman, everybody.
Hi, Green Crushers.
How's it going, Paul?
Pretty great. Nice to be here.
Nice to be here. Yeah, it's nice to get started in here, just to get things going. So I was just speaking with Aron for about an hour, and so you're speaking with him also. So we're just at the part now where so I'm trying to understand the transition between what you were already doing here and how you got things going in Jamaica, and where things are going now that because Canada's legalized. Like, how did that change the game for you before legalize, after legalize? You're Canadian, your place is in Jamaica.
Yep.
What are the challenges?
Oh, learning the government and how to work with them down there was the largest challenge, especially since they're just growing the same way that Canada is. The CLA is a new entity for them, but their Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, is absolutely fantastic, and the Minister of Agriculture, who is Minister Audley Shaw, is again very for the people, wants to help people. So he's helped us through the whole process and helped us overcome certain hurdles and things like that. And the government wants the people to succeed, the people to have access to the proper benefits of it. The Rastafarians have been fighting for it for years.
Yeah.
And so now with all the different changes that are happening in the world, it's time that Jamaica actually does benefit from it. And that's why we decided to use them as our home base.
Yeah.
They believe in it, we believe in it, and we want to work together with them to make Jamaica a true hub for marijuana throughout the entire country and through the world. So it's a global marketplace. Everything comes in and out of the Caribbean, and again, growing conditions are perfect.
Yeah, good quality stuff in there, right? I mean, that's a nice little pocket of the world to grow, isn't it?
Absolutely.
When you get down to it. I was talking to Paul about this the other day. It kind of surprises me, but hurricanes are not really a thing, considering where they are. That sort of,
They bypassed the Dominican and Jamaica, so they've been hit once in a while.
It's so rare.
It's so rare. It's a safe area to be in.
Yeah.
They usually head north and head to Florida, so Florida takes the brunt of them. But it's, again, for growing, the wind, the place that we're in has a constant breeze coming off the sea, which is
nice.
Strengthens the plants and keeps things growing nicely for us. And the temperature is perfect for everything, so it's the ideal utopia for what we do.
Yeah. I like seeing a smile on a guy's face while he's talking about the labor of his life. That's so
I
great.
just asked Google when the last hurricane was in Jamaica.
Uh-huh.
And they've only had two.
Yeah.
And the closest one was 1988. That was Gilbert.
That's right.
Oh,
And
yeah?
Before that, it was 1950.
52,
Wow.
I think.
So pretty safe. It's
Yeah.
amazing, though, because it seems like it's in the path. Like
It
just,
does.
every time one comes up, it goes right past Jamaica. No
But
problem.
it hits.
Grenada?
No, it hits the Cuba
Oh,
before
sure. Yeah, yeah.
usually, and when it hits that, it loses all its steam. If it goes over it, then it
Yeah.
really dumps all the water on the island, right?
Yeah.
And then they might get pretty wet and some wind. But
Oh, yeah.
So in that way, though, so you're growing outside.
We go out
And you're growing
outdoors,
indoors. So-
and greenhouse.
Bi-
So we
oh.
we have all three mediums.
Well, I thought greenhouse was indoors. What am I not knowing?
It's definitely got its
it's a hybrid.
So it's three different
mediums.
mediums. Wow.
Yeah.
And you feel like you're on top of most of them?
Oh yeah, we've got them pretty down pat. We've
You
been
got
doing it for a while.
And so there's great differences between the three, right?
There
I mean,
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, being in the Caribbean, we've got sunlight, which reduces our hydro and lighting costs for everything
Till 6:30.
till 6:30, and then at nighttime we supplement with LED lights. So again, we're as green friendly as we can possibly be on the island.
Right.
Everything that we do, we recycle. Every bit of fertilizer and plant material we reuse. So we try and leave as, again, a carbon footprint. We try and do our part, and we employ all local employees, which we've taken St. Mary's, Jamaica to a whole new level. Because
That's a parish down there?
It's a parish, and it's correct. That's one of the larger parishes there. But the people there have always been farmers' backgrounds,
Right.
but work is very scarce there. So we've taken 120 people and totally changed their lives. So for the last 2 years, we've had 70 plus full-time construction workers, and then other people doing growing and research and development. And
Wow.
we've got doctors on staff. We've got every kind of profession we're utilizing now.
Wow. Would you believe 121?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So it's so great to hear. You must be very excited to go from this helpful hunch of a notion from 7 or 8 years ago to this where you're sitting right now. It must be pretty exciting. I mean, you didn't even start to go there. That's my point. Years ago, you didn't sit down and go, I'm going to build a car company that's going to take over the... You didn't do that. You just started doing things you needed to do to help your friend, and it just kind of became this...
That's right.
It's very exciting to track those. There's so much of that in the cannabis field compared to other...
Yep.
It's not a lot of jewelers going, I just wanted to bring joy to the world, so I thought I would sell blood diamonds to people. It's like, this is a real compassionate interest.
Yeah, well, that's how it all started too, right? And it's now that you take one little piece, and we thought, okay, we'll start off and we'll do a little thing in Jamaica, and now it's turned from a little thing into a monster of a thing. Like, we are basically the poster boys for marijuana in Jamaica, where the minister has us doing a pilot project so we can help out the local farmers. We provide them with clones and vegetation. They grow it for us. We take it down, we process it, and we sell it off, and they get fair market value for it. So it helps the entire country, not just what we're doing. We actually benefit all the farmers that were doing it semi-legally, illegally, and now we're bringing them into the fold and actually making a full-time economy for these people.
And so this was achieved by just kind of moving forward a little bit at a time with the right goal in mind, right?
That's right.
This is what's so amazing to me because, again, you're bringing help to these people. You're helping out this parish, which is basically like a state or a province, right?
Correct. That's a small province.
Yeah. So you're helping these people out. You're doing all of this. And in Canada, where we've just been legalized, supposedly there were these research advanced teams to go and research into the world how this is being done by people that are already doing it and getting all this information together to be able to craft the laws, to be able to craft the Cannabis Act that they did. But with so many of these kinds of people like doing such positive work, it's not really reflected here in Canada. What seems to be here is we have a shortage of product. We have medical people who need to get theirs, but they can't because there's some recreational people who are still waiting to get their order from like 5 weeks ago. And like we've really buggered up the system here, and it seems like there was plenty of warning and plenty of study to not have it buggered up. You know,
Couldn't agree more.
and I don't know why. And I think that so much of it in your case has to do with Jamaicans with that background, that Selassie background from Africa. We don't have that here.
Yeah.
That's why they're getting it done there. I don't think we've got it done here at all. We really dropped the ball on, they've been suppressing the information.
It's, again, their background is believing in that. They've always,
Yeah.
even before the legalization happened there, they've always used it in their teas to drink in the morning and different things, not just to get high, but for actual true health benefits.
Yeah.
And that's where they are so far ahead of us. All right, they're behind us in many ways, but they are ahead of us in the
What
fact
it
that they
does.
truly believe in it and they know
Yeah.
that it helps. Right. So that being said, they are more open to trying new things with it. They are open to different methods, methodologies, and the research and development that goes on there with the UWI is absolutely fantastic. So, and they've come up with glaucoma different medicines and other things that we're not even looking at as Canadians right now. We're looking at delivery methods here, and that's about it. We're not
Yeah.
looking at what it benefits.
Because we've
more
been
so.
told that it doesn't really do anything. So there's nothing to look at.
Unfortunately, yes.
what they-
And so we have to overcome that and reverse the last 60 years of people saying,
Yeah.
oh, it's bad. And now we have to go and say, yes, it's good. Yes, it has to be monitored, but it is a good, beneficial product for you.
Yeah.
So
Well, I talked to a guy the other day, and he's deeply invested financially into this industry, and he studied a lot of it. He told me he studied a lot of it, and then deeply invested into this industry. On October 16th, lost a lot of money the next day. Knows it's coming back though, because he says once they get cannabis to the point where it's like a pill that they know can cure cancer, I'm going to get my money back.
that's exactly right.
It's like, wow, that's like way down the road. And plus, it's not even necessary. This is what I'm saying is like that guy's mindset is coming from the drug world of like, we need to get a drug for, diabetes, or we need to get a drug for whatever. It's not like that. The whole paradigm is different. Just like I said to you about growing inside is different from growing outside. And now you're telling me it was different from greenhouses. Like there's different subtleties.
That's right.
You don't just take pot and turn it into a pill and now your cancer's gone. Like,
No. And that's a lot of the problem that we have as well. It's you've got government people telling you how much THC you're allowed to have, how much CBD you should have, and when they don't realize it's the whole product itself that you have to have the combination
Right.
of it to make it work. Right?
Yeah.
You can't isolate certain parts of a car, like take the spark plug out of an engine and
That's what
expect
you
it
need
to
right
still
there.
run. Exactly. So
yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's got to be the whole plant that you use. We use in our oil processes and everything that we do, we use the roots, the stalks, the stems, the leaves, everything.
Right.
All right. So, and we use it for different applications, different certain ailments and stuff like that. But it's the whole plant is beneficial.
Yeah.
All right. And then the waste product of it, we turn into fertilizer or turn into other products as well. You can turn it into paper. It's boundless with what you can do with it.
I've heard it's good for, and I don't know this, but flipping around the damage done from radioactivity. So, they should be growing the shit out of the Japanese parishes where Fukushima was and everything. They should be crawling with weed over there.
It definitely helps with that as well.
I wanted to cluster bomb with seeds the entire burnout zones in California and northern Alberta and stuff every time there's a fire, and then and it does that thing that nature does anyway, but we probably accelerated it. But, there's Paul's American Dream phone. Sounds like American Dream. But, I don't understand why they don't do this until I come from the angle of cynicism. And I hate that. Like, I said, why would they not do that? And they go, oh, yeah, because they don't want it to be a thing, right?
Yeah.
So, I get it. You guys are pushing for time soon. You're off to Kingston shortly, Ontario.
Kingston, Ontario.
So what is it? You leave Jamaica, you just have to go to places with the same name, or what are you doing?
No, just meeting after meeting. And now that the legalization is gone and the shortages are there, people are calling us like crazy so that they can start importing our oils and stuff like that. So that's the next step, is getting it from Jamaica to here, and that's what we're working on diligently with the Jamaican government and Canadian representatives. So
well, I'm really glad you came on the show. There's a really there's a reticence from a lot of people in the business that are a purveyor of something to come on the show, because there are these dodgy laws where you're not supposed to promote something. So technically, me talking to you about your company, I'm interested in that, and I want to know, and I want to understand how it's helped people. But technically speaking, I'm helping to promote your company, which is technically speaking sort of illegal. I'm
a Jamaican company, so
you're
it's
a Jamaican company, so that's what I said. We just promote something else. We'll just promote somebody else, something else. So that's great. So Castle Black, that's all one word. Where can we find you and your company and learn about this stuff?
CastleBlackCannabis.com or CastleBlack.com.
Okay,
It's got more about us, and more coming as soon as we go along. So,
right. And what kind of products have you got right now? Like, just burn through your catalog for the listeners who are not watching or reading this right now. What kind of things?
Just every type of oil you can imagine. Again, we've got topical creams, we've got pills. We're working on a couple different patents on certain gels that actually help with gum disease and stuff like that. So,
oh wow,
yeah,
gum disease. That's a fun one to get by, right?
Something nobody wants to talk about, but is a huge problem.
It is. This is another thing, though. Be careful, listeners. What happens is when we get a gentleman like this and he starts telling you the 5 or 7 different things it can help with, but then we had a different guest who also said 5 or 7 different things, and then you're into this notion that cannabis, it can't cure everything like that. It helps with so many things because it's nutritional. Okay, don't get all weirded out and, these guys are high. They don't know what they're talking. Then no drug can cure every disease. No drug can, and this isn't a drug. Okay, this is the point. This is a
great anti-inflammatory.
It's an anti-inflammatory. It's a nutrient. There's
Yeah, the stuff being done with consuming fresh cannabis.
Juicing it.
Food is mind-boggling.
All of that. I mean, I would just love to live inside of a fridge where that's all they just store it all the time. I look at, have some more juice, have some more juice, have some more oil, have some more juice.
You're just getting a bathtub full of it.
Yeah, like the boy in the bubble. Let's do that. Let's do the boy in the cannabis bubble experiment.